Hi, and welcome to the Assure Model requirements for a copyright presentation. This presentation is given to 6th grade middle schoolers at Canadian Academy. We're going to begin with the A in the Assure acronym, and that stands for Analyzing Learners. So a couple general characteristics of our learners would be if we were to take a look at their demographics. So taking a closer look, our staff members are really just comprised of one teacher. So it's either a teacher or a teacher librarian in the classroom with no teacher's aides. We have 20 students in this particular 6th grade class, comprised of 12 self-identifying males and 8 self-identifying females, and the ages range from 12 to 13 years old. For our learner profile, I've used last year's MAP scores that break down the class IEP. So it basically shows the percentage of class IEP, our average ability, and those students who are advanced. Students' prior knowledge. So we were told that students in this particular class and environment are digital natives, so they do have knowledge of internet navigation. Some of the prerequisite skills that they need for this lesson are some of that internet savvy, and then also knowledge of some Web 2.0 technology skills. So for example, Google Slides, Prezi, which will be used here in this lesson, and Adobe Spark. These Web 2.0 technologies are used often in the classroom, and students will be able to assess their progress individually as they work through a self-paced lesson, which they will be able to do with the copyright presentation as it will be made available on Google Classroom. Learning differences. So our average class Lexile score is 1100, and the preferred learning styles can be broken down into visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So that's the A for the assured model. Next, we go into the first S, which is the state standards and objectives. So if we're looking at Texas state standards, for example, if we go specifically to the applications for technology in the curriculum, they have 6 strands based on the National Education Technology Standards for Students. And we also are looking at performance indicators developed by ISTE. So these tackle such areas such as creativity and innovation, collaboration and communication, research and information fluency, critical thinking and problem solving, and also areas like digital citizenship and operation of technology and concepts. For Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills for Middle School, there are several outlined here. However, the one that I want to pay particular attention to is in bold and italicized, and that's for students to be able to select technological tools based on licensing, application, and support. So this dovetails really nicely with the lesson in copyright. The second S in the Assure model is to be able to select strategies and resources. So one thing I believe is to meet students where they're at. So we'll start here. Students' existing knowledge. So for interactive instruction, project-based learning, and active learning, they should be able to discuss their objectives, tell a story using Prezi, for example, Web 2.0 technology, and using free resource links to create. So they'll be provided with resource links to different types of media that they can use for free without copyright, and they'll be able to build upon that. Instructional strategies and resources. So looking at online and multimedia resources, the teacher's Prezi slideshow for the lesson will be, as mentioned, shared with the class on Google Classroom. This way students will be able to engage in self-paced learning. They can zoom in and zoom out using some of those features of Prezi to be able to examine things in greater depth or detail, and also use the hyperlinks to open up a new tab and explore new topics. And we've also mentioned that this school is a one-to-one student to technology ratio. So each student will be bringing their MacBook to class, and they're responsible for always having their laptop and always making sure that that laptop is charged. Next, we have the U in the Assure model requirements, and U stands for utilizing resources. So I've broken this up into technology, media, and materials. Those are three general areas comprising our resources. If we go to technology, again, each middle school student has their own MacBook. Classrooms are also equipped with a smartboard and with projectors. For media, in this instance, the teacher will use the Web 2.0 technology of Prezi to implement the class lesson plan. And Prezi is robust in that you can put in pictures, videos, links to other websites, and text into the presentation. You can make it interactive and also self-paced. And for materials, we have the teacher laptop with Prezi loaded and ready to go, 20 MacBooks that the students have, a KWL rubric printed, and 20 copies. And that stands for what you know, what you want to know, and what you've learned. And this particular table of information, if you will be handed out prior to the Prezi presentation to give students an opportunity to write about what it is they think they know, what it is they want to know about copyright, and then once the lesson is complete, they can write down what they've learned, and this can be used for the assessment. Next is R, where we require learner participation. And these two dovetail really nicely together, the implementation and practice of new skills and being able to receive feedback. So in practicing our new skills, I've developed a sample lesson plan whereby students will think about what they learned about copyright, and they'll be able to answer a question that the teacher can just pose onto Pear Deck, another Web 2.0 technology. And using Pear Deck is just, in lieu of the old school Post-it notes, writing an answer and putting that up on the smartboard or up on the whiteboard. So the question could be something like, what is copyright and how does it relate to you? Students will type in their answers into the Pear Deck, which will then be presented up on, projected onto the smartboard. And after everyone's posted, these responses will spark a discussion. Here, the teacher can evaluate through the class discussion and the responses that were posted how much review is needed before moving forward. And receiving feedback. So again, there's that KWL rubric, passing out the copyright rubric to the class before the presentation, asking them what did they know about copyright and what did they want to know, and then we find out what did they learn about copyright. And finally, we have the E for the Assure model requirements, which stands for evaluation. So here I have learning objectives and student outcomes. Now, one of the things that I find interesting is being able to evaluate the teacher on the teacher's performance. So something that I always like to do is have a Rate My Teacher feature. So here we have instructor performance, where the students will circle one rating. So they've got the options for 1, 2, or 3, poor, needs improvement, or the teacher's proficient. And I just have a couple questions here: whether or not the teacher effectively communicated the content to class, if the KWL rubric was a fair way to assess prior knowledge, was the technology easy to figure out and access, and was the lesson interesting and meaningful? And then we also have an evaluation here of the copyright lesson itself. So were requirements being met? Did it align with standards, outcomes, and objectives? Were sources accurate and using up-to-date information? Was the material organized in a way that was easy to understand? Was content age appropriate? And was it interesting and did it engage students? So there we have the breakdown of the Assure model requirements for copyright. Thank you for listening.